I welcome you to the October 16th meeting of the Warren Zoning Board of Review. I'm the chair for the meeting, Andrew Ellis. To my right is Bert Rodriguez, Michael Alves, and Chuck Thibodeau. We have 4 members present, which will constitute a quorum. Should another member arrive, they can participate from the start of any new applications, but any in progress will continue with the 4 that we have here. Mr. Elves is normally an alternate member, but he will be a voting member of the board this evening. When it's your turn to come up and speak, I would ask that you just stay on topic and please speak clearly and only one speaker at a time so the stenographer can keep up with taking down everything that's said in the meeting. I'll just help everything to go a little bit more easily for her. The first item here is minutes from September 18th. They've been circulated. Does anyone have any comments, or is there a motion on those minutes?
Make a motion, we accept the minutes as read.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all approved?
Aye.
Any opposed? So the minutes from September are approved. There are no matters under old business for this evening, so we'll get right to the new business. We'd like to make one slight change to the agenda. The third item, application 2427, is largely an administrative matter that can be dealt with rather quickly. So I'm going to propose reordering the agenda to take that matter first.
Mr. Chair, can you just, before you make that motion, can you just check to see if the applicant is in the room? I don't believe they are.
Okay. Is the applicant here? Thomas R. Gordon, or anyone representing Thomas R. Gordon? Then Thomas R. Gordon has lost his chance to be first. So we'll keep the agenda in the order that it was printed. So much for efficiency. The first matter then, as listed on the agenda, is application 2425. Adriano Andrade, owner and applicant, 3 Monist Street, Plat 13B, Lot 98, request for a special use permit to construct a mixed-use building in the Village Business District. Is someone here? This? Can you identify yourself, please?
Adriano Andrade.
And your address? 3 Monist?
3 Monist, yeah, correct.
Okay. So you can give us a description of what you're planning to do on the property and why you believe it meets the standards for a special use permit.
I plan on doing a 3-bay garage with 2 apartments above the 3-bay garage. I have so I had an engineer pretty much map it out, and he came up with a rain garden on the left-hand side. So to fix the matter of like the drainage situation over there in the left corner, we're gonna fix that drainage by putting a rain garden there. And then I already talked to pretty much my gardener. She's gonna basically get me plants. She's gonna test the soil, and we're gonna plant stuff over there to absorb most of the water and the drainage. And I'm gonna also plant some things covering the fence in the back where the child daycare center is, just to absorb more of that water, plus the rain garden. And yeah, we have pretty much all the variance clearances on the back, front, and side. We have enough parking spaces for the tenants. Yeah, any questions?
So to have a special use permit, you have to demonstrate certain standards. We're just going to ask you how you think it meets those standards. One of them being, is this appropriate and does it fit in with the surrounding area where you're planning to develop this?
The 3-bay garage, yeah, I mean, up the street, there's already a commercial building up the street on the corner. And it's in a mixed use area. So with being the 3-bay garage, which is going to be storage use for myself, And pretty much, and then the residential will be up top.
So you think the use is consistent with other uses that are already present in the neighborhood?
Yeah, you got a couple apartment houses right there, and then there is the two houses that are built across the street, but then you got apartment on the corner, and then a commercial building on the corner itself too.
Okay. Also, this use you're proposing can't create any kind of nuisance or hazard. So can you just speak to why you think this is not going to generate any difficulties or problems in this area?
It's basically storage for myself. It's gonna pretty much store electrical wire and pretty much there's no gasoline, no hazard, no chemicals. It's just plastic boxes, metal boxes, wire, electrical supplies.
So would there be any noise generated, do you see, based on this use?
I mean, I'm just gonna go in there, pick up stuff and then leave. It's not like every day, like people. I'm not like working out of it like 24/7. It's just gonna be storage and then picking up stuff and getting out. So it's not other things. Neighbors can't create noise too. It's just, it's not gonna create like, it's not a FedEx or a store. It's not gonna be like generating cars in and out of the road.
There's no people coming there actively, it's just. for
No,
your own
it's just
use
me and then pretty much
And your
the
tenant.
tenants when they live there.
Mm.
But it's only a 2-bedroom, so you're really only gonna get like probably like a family with one kid probably, or just like a single couple.
And you've testified you're providing parking ample to supply the dwelling.
Yes, on the right side of the building.
Mm-hmm. Where the garage will be specifically for your use, not for
Yeah,
tenants.
for my use, correct.
Okay. How do you feel that developing this property is going to fit with the town's comprehensive plan and what the town has a vision for the future of this area? Do you think it's a good fit for the long-term vision of the town?
There's there's like 2 apartments above, so people do need to, like, there is people that need places to live right now, and right there, that'll generate a couple families right there, and then pretty much, I mean, I typically originally from here, so it's pretty much, it'll help me out in the long run too. I think it would work out great. It's just gonna, that lot has been empty for a number of years, so I think it's due time that something gets put up on there.
And so are you yourself going to live in one of the 2 units, or these are both rental units?
Both rental.
And then the garage area will be for your
That's
use.
fully my use.
And do you, I think you've alluded to this, do you feel that the public will benefit from having these apartments and development on the property?
I think so. It's not too far from downtown area. It's not too far from the Massachusetts Swansea line, so I think it's in a perfect location for people.
We're going, we will, before we get into anything too deeply, there will be time, you spoke a little bit about drainage, but there's gonna be some substantial discussion as we recognize a letter was received by the board, submitted by Seaver Anderson of 3 South Cornell Avenue, raising some specific concerns about the drainage. So there's going to be some questions relating directly to that matter.
Yep.
I'd like to see, before we get into specifically the drainage, the board has any general questions for you on the nature of what's being proposed?
I'd like to
Everyone's
hear the
okay?
Probably you'd like to hear the public first before.
All right. I think that's all right for the moment. If you want to have a seat,
Okay.
we will invite the public to offer any commentary they may have for or against the application. You just want to raise your hand and you'll be recognized. Yes, sir, in the front. So you need to come to the podium Please identify your name and address for the stenographer.
I'm Barry Brown. I live at 133 Kickamuit. So my concern is that 40 years ago, we had a beautiful wooded area. And one day bulldozers came without any notification from the town and tore it down and put up a truck farm on the other side of our house, right next to our backyard. And there've been a few other things like that that have happened. So when I received this, I wanted to make sure that I knew the ways in which you had mentioned it might impact us. Our biggest concern is noise. And it's aside from cars going 75 miles an hour down the street, motorcycles, it's a relatively quiet neighborhood. And I would certainly welcome any kind of enterprise that's, that's going to be in Warren. And I do agree that housing is always like an issue, but I need some kind of a guarantee that that it's not going to cause noise, because we will hear it. We can hear noise when it's on Child Street. So I'm not talking about starting a car in the morning or anything like that. I'm really talking about excessive noise where you're working on cars, all night long and stuff like that. I know you can't necessarily offer 100% guarantee, but I need to voice my concerns about that issue.
I think, so what the applicant is proposing is that the garage space be strictly a storage space for materials only, and there's no actual active work going on in that. It's not like an auto repair shop. That's not what they're asking for. So if this application were to be approved, the applicant would be required to only use the garage space as designated for storage, and the apartments only as apartments as presented. Certainly any occupants of the apartment would have to abide by the town's noise ordinances, and respect all those situations, so they're not generating excess noise. And if they were, that would then become an enforcement issue. You'd have to go through the proper channels to deal with that.
Is the height the same as the buildings that are around it? I'm just curious.
So he's given a proposed,
I'm just curious.
he's given a height in his drawings of 34 feet, looks like 1 inch above, or 34 feet, 10 inches above the level of the driveway. So it's a 2-story structure with a gable roof on top of it.
Okay. All right. That's all I had. I just wanted to.
And we just clear your first comment about the trees being knocked down. Are you making that comment in relation to this applicant, or this happened at some?
No, not at all.
We just
When
wanna
that
make sure-
happened, I don't think this applicant was born, actually. That was about 40 years ago. But they replaced the truck farm with a childcare with a built-in swimming pool on the other side of our fence with 30 kids. So we look forward to winter. But I just wanted, I'm just concerned about things that happen in the area that might impact us, but it doesn't sound like this will.
Thank you. We'll make sure to take that into account. Is there anyone else? Yeah, the gentleman in the back there, if you could come forward, please.
Yeah, I'm Seaver Anderson at 3 South Cornell Ave.
Oh, so this is your letter that we're in receipt of?
Yes, yep.
Has a copy of this been given to the applicant?
Not to my knowledge, no.
You have a copy of it?
Copy.
Okay.
So my concern is drainage.
So this is not the first time I've heard about drainage on this street at this board. We know it's an ongoing issue, particularly in this section of town. You have a very detailed letter, thank you, and you have pictures showing the drainage problem.
Mhm.
So if you want to just briefly summarize the points in your letter of why you have a concern about the drainage.
Sure. So I'm not surprised because we do have an existing drainage and flooding issue in this area, both my property, my neighbor's property at 7 South Cornell, and I'm sure the daycare too. When it rains, there's a 12-inch drainage pipe. It's on my lot. It's right along the property line, but we've had it surveyed and it's on my property. According to my neighbor, it was installed by the town years ago. I'm not sure when.
We've heard that before, yes.
And when I first moved in, I called the town about it and I wasn't really able to get much information on when or sizing or, the reason for what it was put in, but it was because there was substantial flooding that occurred on the properties, just from what I've heard. So my concern is the rain garden. It looks like there's an overflow for when that rain garden fills up, and it's going to concentrate stormwater and direct it towards my property and towards that drainage pipe, which currently gets overwhelmed during not even very large storms. I've only been there 2.5 years, and it's happened numerous occasions where the pipe is completely underwater and I have to go back there and, knee boots and unclog it and everything.
So is it your opinion that the pipe appears not to be functioning? Or not functioning
It's-
as intended in your estimation?
Maybe it's not properly sized, but it also gets clogged with a lot of leaves and just debris and everything. But I think it might have to do with the sizing, and it's a wetland back. I mean, it was a wetland. It was a pond historically back there. So it's just, you have a high water table. There's no infiltration, which is my other concern with the rain garden. You have standing water back there for a good portion of the year. So in the winter time, I mean, that rain garden is going to be full good portion of the year with stagnant water.
Have you ever been in touch with Mr. Cabral here, who could put you in touch with the Department of Public Works?
No,
Staff that might need to come out, and they may need to service that drain if it's clogged or what have you. That may be a first step. Certainly with regard to the rain garden, or any development on any lot, we would mandate that if this was to be approved, all stormwater generated on his lot, that's from his roof, the driveway, whatever's going to this rain garden, he has to contain and manage that water on his own property so that it does not spill over. Now, having said that, any rain garden has a certain capacity of water that it can handle. And it's inevitable that at some point a storm will occur that's beyond the rain garden's capacity. And for that reason, the rain garden has an overflow as designed, and that will discharge water. We can certainly speak to the applicant about the design of that and what the plans are for that overflow discharge. And maybe there is more study needed to see what is the right location for that to have as minimal an impact as possible.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm agreeable to that. I just wanted to make sure it'd been reviewed. Wasn't sure if there was a stormwater report or calculations done by the engineer,
We can ask
or
that.
if there
we
was
can
a
ask that
engineering review done.
question. The drawings are stamped by a licensed engineer, but I'm not sure that there are specific calculations provided, but we could have the applicant submit that for review by the building and zoning official to determine if he feels that is appropriate. And certainly the applicant can make changes to the space within his own lot to try to deal as best as possible with drainage, but that may not necessarily resolve issues fully on adjacent.
No, I totally understand
lots.
that. Yeah. So my concern is just that it's going to make the existing condition worse. It's already a problem. And if it gets worse, I mean, my basement's going to be flooding and my neighbors, I mean, it's going to be a significant issue for us.
Yeah, we can have the applicant address that in terms of the direction of the water and how this landscape is going to be graded. I think you had a concern also about grading close to a tree.
Yeah, and well, the other concern I wanted to bring up more than that is the water from Mona Street currently, it like sheet flows because there's no drainage on that road. It's all country drainage. It sheet flows across the Mona Street property and into that drain pipe. So I was concerned that the grading is gonna direct it, so it's just gonna keep going down to the dead end and end up on my property. Just sheet flowing the way it's,
I don't know if have you seen the plans? I assume you have since you.
yes, yeah, I looked at them.
Is this the drain pipe you're talking about in the northeast corner? You just want to, you can come up and look at that just to confirm. Right there, it mentions 12-inch.
Yeah, the 12-inch plastic.
And so is this your property here?
Yeah, I'm right here, yeah. So I'm worried that, yeah, the runoff that currently goes like this direction
Mhm.
from the road, that the way the grading is when they tie in here, it's gonna just direct it this way onto my property.
Looking at that, we can speak with the applicant about that. You know, if the tree is a concern, we can recommend that appropriate construction safeguards be put in place around what would be the likely extent of the root system of the tree to avoid damage to the greatest extent possible. And maybe some of these contours that are drawn have to be slightly amended, you know, to help protect that tree, because we certainly don't want, you know, to have any damage occur on something that's on your property to the greatest extent we can. So that's something that could be coordinated
Yeah.
with this construction folks.
I appreciate that.
Was there anything else specific you wanted to highlight out of, I know it was the tree, the roots, you wanted to see some plantings along the property line. We can ask him about what kind of plantings he's got going on in here. Is there an existing fence there, did we say?
There is, yeah, I installed a couple sections of fence, but there's a couple gaps. I couldn't go all the way back just because of how wet it is. And I didn't want to interfere with the pipe that's back there. So it's just like two sections. Along
Yeah, we
the
can
property
ask him
line.
about, it appears there's something on his property in terms of a fence, but we can ask him what the nature of that is
okay.
going to be.
Okay, yeah. No, and I don't have an issue with the use. It's just really the drainage I'm concerned about, and
How long did you
Right.
say you've been there? 2 years?
about 2.5 years, yeah.
Anything else you wanted to share with us?
No, that's all.
Okay, thank you for
Yeah.
bringing that to our
Thank you.
attention. Is there anyone else in the public who would like to speak regarding this application? Okay, not seeing anyone, so we can close the public portion of the hearing. So we're going to ask the applicant to come back to the podium, and we're going to have some questions to follow up on the comments that we had from the public. So we can address the first gentleman's concerns about noise first. And is it correct that your testimony is the garage is only going to be used for storage?
Just
purposes?
storage, yeah.
There's no work going on in there?
No,
And you understand that your tenants have to abide by the noise ordinances set by the town? And if they don't, then the neighbors have the right to
correct.
pursue an enforcement action?
Yep.
So I think that was the less sort of difficult item, since you seemed to already be indicating that the noise wasn't going to be a particular problem. So with regard to the drainage, you submitted a plan that's been engineered,
Yes.
and you have provided a rain garden. So there's obviously an attempt to deal with stormwater on the property. Do you have access to calculations or data that was used to size this rain garden and determine what the size is that's appropriate?
I could call
You
Principal
could
tomorrow.
get that information.
Yeah, I would just call him tomorrow and then ask him. how
I
he's
mean, that
classified.
may be a condition of the application, that that data would have to be submitted to the town for review, such that the building zoning official is satisfied that the proposed rain garden is sufficient and is going to do what it's intended to.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, if I may, my
Yes.
recommendation would be to, because of the outstanding issues in terms of drainage and stormwater control, is to have Mr. Principe come here, testify before this board in terms of particular questions and how the current plan is gonna be suffice
So you would like expert testimony, you're advising us.
That would be
expert
my
testimony.
recommendation versus putting it on the town to make that determination. If there's an issue, there may be liability. Therefore, my recommendation is to have him come here and answer those outstanding questions.
All right. Could that be arranged? I mean, obviously not at this moment, but
What, to
could-
come in front of the board?
yes, for
you said?
Mr. Principe to come in front of the board. and
What,
speak
next
about-
month?
That would, yes, generally be the intent.
When would be the date so I could let them know if I get a hold of them?
We can get
The
you
next
that.
meeting,
What's that?
that'd be the next meeting. right?
Yeah, the next meeting, November.
November's
something,
meeting.
sir.
Was it what,
It would be November's meeting, which is on the 20th of November.
Oh,
All right, so we may have, I mean, if Mr. Principe is going to come before us, we're going to have some specific questions. I mean, you heard the testimony or the comments from your neighbor about where is the overflow, because obviously this rain garden at some point is going to fill up in a severe storm.
Yeah,
You know, what way is that directing the water? How might it impact his property? Also about sheet flow of water on Monist Avenue that you're building this new rain garden. What impact is that going to have on directing any water that's currently entering your property from the street? So I think we want to hear about that. Do you have, there seems to be some kind of a fence indicated around three sides of your property? Is that, to your knowledge, been designed? There's a symbolic line on the plan that appears to show fencing around three sides. You know, is that something you're planning to do?
I mean, there's a building in the back, I mean, and then the neighbor, he has fencing, but then there's only a little fence on the right. I mean, I was gonna put a fence later on when the property gets developed. And then
As I was saying, as part of constructing this project,
yeah,
The
We-
fencing right now is
yeah, the-
neighbor's fencing,
yeah.
not his.
I'm seeing on his plan, there's the line with the intermittent circles that are running around the north.
that could just be the, like
Yeah.
the hay, pretty much just to keep all the construction stuff in. my
Oh, is that what
property.
he's showing? He's
Yeah.
showing you?
That's just the,
It's, I don't,
that's
yeah, it's not
pretty much that.
called out. It's his soil containment.
yeah.
On the
it's
plan,
just-
it's called out as proposed compost filter sock.
It's just to keep everything when it's under construction.
I can help you.
So you heard the concern then with regard to, so if you're not putting a fence on the property, there's a concern about having some kind of screening or plant material at that north edge of the property. Do you know anything about the kind of plant material that the rain garden is going to house?
Like I said, if I continue developing the property, if it gets approved, I have a lady who's ready to go over there, test the soil, and she's gonna get the correct plants that need to be there, because like she said, she has to test the soil. She can't just put anything. There's different types of plants that work differently in types of soil. So I already called her today, and she already said that she has to go over there, but I told her to hold off and wait. I gotta get approved first. I'm not gonna just have someone go over there and start planting things.
No, obviously
so-
part of the development
Yeah.
of the
So as
project.
soon as
So-
it gets developed and then it goes through, then I'm calling her over and she's gonna test everything and we're gonna go over that.
So there may be, the board may have some recommendations on sort of height or requirement of some plantings. What type of plants they are, that could be up to your landscape.
Yeah, I mean, I could submit that
consultant.
once if it does get approved, if there's a height thing that's people's concern. I mean, that's not a problem. I could submit
Um,
anything.
You also heard the concern about excavation possibly damaging the root system of an adjacent tree. So when you're developing this property, would you be able to have, like construction fencing or something appropriate put up to keep excavators and heavy loads off the root area of the tree?
That the building sits like 30 feet off that tree.
No, I think what I'm saying is
So,
to build this rain garden,
oh, yeah,
right, there's gonna be some soil that's gonna have to be dug up and rearranged here to construct the rain
Yeah.
garden. So in terms of bringing in an excavator or what have you, I think the concern was not running over
oh,
the
the
root
roots, yeah,
system of this tree
gotcha.
while you're doing that, and you may need to adjust or Mr. Principe may need to adjust some of these contour lines to make sure that's not damaged. You understand there's a concern
Yeah,
that if the tree roots get damaged during construction,
Yeah.
your neighbor may have a potential issue on his hands.
gotcha.
So you'd be open to making consideration to
that's fine.
accommodate that. The driveway that leads into the garage and the area where the cars are going to be parked. Says it's proposed to be a pervious driveway.
On the right-hand side, tenants is on the right, and then it's gonna be all driveway in front of the garage. Like. all
What is the
paved
material of the driveway going to be?
Asphalt.
Asphalt. So that may or may not be appropriate in terms of stormwater. We may have specific questions from Mr. Principe about asphalt, which obviously any rainwater that's falling on that isn't going to be able to soak in.
Yeah,
So we may need some guidance about how that water is being directed or what is being done to prevent any water hitting the asphalt from making the existing condition any worse with water accumulation.
okay.
Other than the driveway in the front where the garage doors are and the side where the cars are parking, is the rest what's left going to be landscaped grass, something to that effect?
Yes,
And you previously stated that the proposed development is going to meet all of the setback requirements for this lot.
Yeah.
That what you've designed here, you're complying with all the setbacks and you're not seeking any variances for dimensional relief. or anything.
correct.
We may also have a question for Mr. Principe. The way the 4 parking spaces are shown, appears 2 of them are on the paved surface, right next to the south side of the building. And then 2 of them, it appears, are, further south than that, not on a paved surface. Is that your understanding?
It's back to back, pretty much, like.
So you got 4 parking spaces down here?
Yeah.
The 2 of them closest to the building look like they're drawn, I think this is the line, the edge of the proposed pavement. These 2 spaces are on the pavement, but these 2 spaces are in the grass.
No, I shouldn't.
So the pavement would extend around to cover all 4 spaces?
Yeah,
That may be something we want to clarify with Mr. Principe. Because again, the more pavement we're adding to the property, the less places there are for water to naturally seep back into the ground. So we'll want to have that described as to what's being done. Are there any, I mean, is he proposing perhaps, are there some drains in this pavement that are going to redirect the water to the rain garden, or how does he propose handling that? Unless you know that specifically.
he said pretty much he sized that rain garden on the square footage of the building and through the parking, and everything was pretty much going in that rain garden.
All right, so yeah, we might want to have some particular commentary from him to back that up with some data and show us the analysis that he's conducted.
Okay.
How long have you owned this lot? Did you s-
February?
February of this year,
Yes,
so less than 1 year.
yes.
Have you, in that time, have you observed water accumulation on your own property on this lot?
Honestly, I haven't been there. It's,
You haven't been
I
there.
had the drawing. I've been there just to cut the grass, and pretty much that's it. I haven't gone there a lot because they took a while to do the prints, so I haven't. I
So you
just put it-
personally have not been there at a time that you've observed standing
Like-
water on the property?
No,
Okay. Have you spoken to your neighbor there, Mr. Mr. Anderson?
I only met him once.
You only met him once.
Once, that was it.
Other than this letter that he submitted, has he ever raised these concerns about drainage with you?
No, I only met him once when he was cutting the grass.
Okay. So it may be beneficial for you and Mr. Anderson and your engineer, Mr. Principe, possibly to get together and discuss the concerns prior to Mr. Principe. I mean, certainly I would show him this letter. But it may be beneficial to discuss that all together. So when Mr. Principe comes here, he can address specific concerns about how this development is not going to cause any worse conditions to happen on your neighbor's property. Understanding that there are certain things beyond your control, such as the pipe that was referenced that's on your neighbor's property or other contributing factors, but we would certainly want to hear from Mr. Principe how he's trying to deal as best as possible and making sure it's not going to get any worse than it currently is.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna be in the middle of that. I mean, we could fix the drainage if possible. If we gotta work something
Oh,
out.
that-
with the town or something
that's
like that.
That's another matter for another
Yeah.
venue. We can only address what you can do within the boundary lines of your own piece of property. So we'd want to hear from Mr. Principe, some reassurances and data to back that up.
Okay.
Does anyone have any more on the drainage they want to talk about or other aspects of this proposed development?
They're gonna probably make a continuance, right?
I think. Well, so we have to ask the applicant, so, in light of the advice of the solicitor, that since we have specific questions on the drainage, which seems to be the main issue on the property, would you like to request that we continue this hearing to the November meeting so that Mr. Principe can be here in person, to answer those questions?
Yeah, that's not a problem.
So you'd like to request that?
Yep.
All right, so is there a motion?
Make a motion to continue application 2425 to the November meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so the motion is passed 4-0, so this will be continued. I would advise you that in the event that any one of these four people currently sitting here is not available in November, the meeting would have to be further continued because only the four people who have heard the original testimony can hear the continuance.
Okay. And would I get a heads up? Like, so.
We would
First case
hopefully, if
of
we
this
knew
time.
of a conflict, hopefully, the towns, we would notify the town's office and they could notify you in advance. So you don't have to show up with Mr. Principe if there's no calls. But does anyone at this moment know of a potential conflict on November the 20th?
I'll be here on November 20th.
I don't see a conflict.
All right, so as of right now, barring some unforeseen circumstance, it appears these four people will still be
Okay.
here, but we will, if something should come up at the last minute, we will try to make every effort to notify you.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so in the meantime, please discuss with your engineer, talk to your neighbor, prepare whatever you think is going to be necessary to best answer some of these specific questions.
Okay,
All right,
thank you.
thank you. Have a good evening.
too.
Yes, we did. We voted on it. It was 4-0. Chuck made the motion. Next, application 2426, Market and Turner LLC owner, and Sarah Beth Warner, Ferry T LLC applicant, 69 Market Street, Plat 9, Lot 43, request for a special use permit to allow a tea room in the business zoning district. So good evening. If you could both identify yourselves, please, for the stenographer.
Sure, I'm Corto Tazbutha, one of the co-owners of Ferry Tea.
Okay.
I'm Sarah Beth Warner, also co-owner Lafayette.
Okay.
Market and Turner is the owner of the property.
Martin Turner LLC is the owner of the property.
Correct.
Yes,
And we
that we
lease the
lease.
property.
And you were the owner of a business that would like to come to the property.
Correct.
Yes.
I see.
So should we tell you about the business?
Yes, please,
Okay.
tell us, why you'd like to have this business, why you think, it meets the standards for a special use permit.
Okay, so we hope to start a tea room. It's an afternoon tea room. We know that Rhode Island has approximately 18 tea rooms. 5 are within hotels. I believe only 7 are standalone. And so we think that we are providing a unique service for the community. It would be for children, adults, and families to sort of offer a luxurious, refined experience with a sit-down tea, the three-tiered platters with sandwiches, scones, and pastries. We will also provide a venue for small events such as birthday parties, or if someone has a special occasion, a bridal shower or another get-together, that we could be a space to host that. We think that we fit the model in Warren in terms of being a small business, being unique. We are women-owned, we're clearly diverse, and we believe that the community would be receptive to us in the space. And yeah, in terms of logistics, so there is no parking exactly at the space.
Yeah.
We plan to seat 18, but in the location that we are at 69 Market, I don't believe parking is
That
required,
is
but
correct.
there is parking nearby. So it should be safe for families to walk there, or individuals. And we will have trash provided through Homes Disposal. I think they do some other garbage disposal around here as well.
So you can have a designated area or dumpster or place for the trash.
We'll
on the
have
property.
to have bins, 96-gallon bins, because the small dumpster,
Not fit.
yeah, the 2-yard dumpster, there is an alley for it, but there's a fence there that we're not going to remove. So we'll have some bins that will be emptied weekly.
Okay, and would you be open to having a condition that the trash only be picked up during certain hours so it doesn't disturb the neighbors?
Yes, of course. And our
Alright.
business hours, we're planning
Yes,
from
what business
about
hours?
10 to 6.
How many days a week?
Oh,
Wednesday through Sunday.
Wednesday through Sunday.
Mhm.
If you'd like 10 to 6, Wednesday through Sunday. So we ask this of all restaurant, food service type businesses. Are those the maximum hours you foreseeably would ever want? Because if they're not, you should ask for them now. Otherwise, if we commit to those hours and you decide that you want to have some extended hours, you wouldn't be able to do so without coming back to ask for different hours.
okay. I think probably 10 in the morning is fine, possibly till 7 if someone was asking for a small birthday party that started at 4:30 or
Mhm.
5, just so that we have time to clean up.
So 10 till 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
plus 10 to
But the
7.
days of the week are,
You wouldn't want to add Monday and Tuesday, just in case down the road you
Yes.
would want to.
Should,
If you ever wanted to add them on, you'd have to come back.
all right.
Okay,
so,
we'll
yeah,
do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
We'll go
We'll
for
do
it.
it.
So
Yeah.
10 to 7,
Yeah,
7
Sunday.
days a
through
week,
Sunday. Yeah,
potentially.
potentially, yeah.
Okay. How will deliveries of supplies, food, whatever you need, catering, how will that be
We are
happening?
predominantly gonna shop ourselves,
Okay.
at local places like Restaurant Depot primarily.
Mhm.
And we're small enough that that's not an issue. Our tea supplier, we're uncertain. I think they just ship like regular shipping, like an Amazon situation. I don't foresee us having big truck deliveries. If in the future, and I mean like future, we find ourselves in that position, I assume that they would pull up along Market as the Cumberland Farms across the street. We've seen trailer trucks deliver some of their goods there.
So technically, you're not supposed to do that.
Okay, all right, well
Uh,
then that's side street, but I I think it's a low probability that we'll ever need that.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like based on the capacity of
No.
what you're proposing, that a tractor trailer would be the right means to.
No, I don't think
River
it'll ever be a
supplies.
problem.
And the
again,
fire capacity there is gonna be 18.
That we have to talk to the fire chief what the capacity is now. It was Andy's bar years ago, so the capacity I imagine has to be more than 18 people.
So whatever decision we make, it would be
Mhm.
contingent upon approval by the fire chief.
Yeah, we understand.
So whatever, if he decided on a different number of people than
Mhm.
what you're proposing, you would need to abide by whatever
Yes,
he
I understand.
decides. Similarly, with any sort of fire safety or fire protection features that might be required,
Yes.
that would all have to be approved
Yep.
by the fire department, as well as any Department of Health regulations for food
Correct.
service, et cetera. It would all be contingent on that, as well as getting your regular building permits that would be necessary for the property, depending on what kind of renovations you're doing.
Yeah, so, in regards to the health department, we've already submitted the application for that. They just need to come look at our space, otherwise everything looks good. The fire chief has been there in March before we got in,
Mhm.
and looked it over. We also spoke to the fire department before ever leasing the property in regards to needing, the fire suppression system for, like a
Mhm.
range.
Yeah.
We were informed that if we just have, electric appliances, we would not need that. We don't have a range at all. We
Mhm.
only have a double oven and then a refrigerator, like a panini press. So nothing, major like that.
You're not
And-
having a fryolator or
No,
anything of
no.
that sort?
Not at all. As far as the permits go, when we filed for this, I spoke to this lovely lady here, and she looked up permits from the past and prior tenants. And I believe the owner may have pulled the most recent one of the property. And we don't have any new plumbing or electric going in. We're using everything that. would
You're
be-
using everything that's, so there's no major physical construction
No.
happening in the space?
No.
So basically, it's as is,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
you're bringing in your own
Just
furniture
cosmetics.
or whatever is
Yeah,
necessary
correct.
for that. Okay, so there's no alterations there. Cover the hours of operation. Is there going to be, are you going to be pursuing any kind of like, live entertainment license here?
We were-
Alcohol and beverage license,
The only, we were gonna speak to,
the town council?
yes, thank you. When we, apply for the victulating license, we will also speak to them in regards to what it would take to acquire at least the BYOB liquor license, so people could bring like a bottle of champagne or something to have with their tea, especially if they're celebrating or having like a bridal shower. Beyond that, we are not at that point in which we would look into any other liquor licenses.
Yeah, so any entertainment or
No.
beverage service, the town council would be the right
Yes.
avenue to pursue that, but
Yeah.
at this time,
Yeah.
what you're presenting does not include. that.
Correct.
Correct.
How many employees?
Currently, it's just the two of
Two.
us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you'll be staffing the space.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then hopefully, possibly after the holiday season, we'll look into hiring another person.
And so are you doing retail sales of tea, or is it just dine-in options? What kind of business model do we
So we
have?
hope to sell some tea too, so that if someone has a tea that they enjoy, then they can buy it also, so we can sell it based on weight, loose leaf tea. And then we may possibly sell some merchandise with our logo and maybe some teacups.
Yeah, little tricky things.
Yeah.
I did submit this afternoon for the retail sales permit, so.
For a retail sales
Yeah,
permit for those
that's
little
roughly
accessories?
correct.
Do you have any plans for a sign of any kind identifying the business.
So that was our question actually, because we want to put like the sticker kind of like
Like a
a,
vinyl decal on the window.
right.
That is a sign.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes. So
Yeah.
we would like to.
It would just need, you can do whatever you like, so long as it meets the size and specifications that are in the ordinance.
Okay,
Okay,
So you can certainly submit to the zoning official what it is you're proposing to do. Make sure that the size is compatible.
okay,
Same, if you want to affix anything like hanging off the building, there's rules and regulations
Yeah.
you have to
Mm,
respect
we're
for
lucky to
that
do that.
yeah.
as well. But it doesn't sound like there's any major construction of that
No.
nature.
No.
Do you plan on adding any exterior lighting to the building?
So there are 2 exterior lights at the 2 entry points. We don't plan on adding anything beyond that.
And they're going to stay as is?
Yes.
You don't foresee any kind of nuisance or hazard being created by this business? You don't foresee it being disruptive to the neighborhood or causing problems for anyone?
No, our hope is that it would not be disruptive at all and be a place where the community can gather.
I wouldn't picture a tea room being disruptive, but
Yeah.
you never
We've
know.
had some of the neighbors already come by and peek in and ask us about it, and they all seem pretty excited about it, at least.
And I think you've confirmed that there's no real cooking, so you're not having like an exhaust hood that's going to be noisy or creating odors that are unpleasant.
Right.
Seems like any food preparation is very minimal and contained
Yeah.
within the space itself.
Predominantly baking, so that'll smell delicious.
Could be quite admirable.
But you are gonna have an oven in there, correct?
Yes.
Yes, a
And that's not
double
gonna,
electric.
well, you're gonna do the electric conduction?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, like
Yeah,
residential.
so you don't need a hood.
Mm-mm.
And there are apartments above,
Yes.
and that's going to stay
Yes,
Yeah.
as it is. So your project would only be affecting the first floor.
correct.
Do we have any other specific questions at this time about the nature of the proposed development?
No.
I will ask you to just step to the side for one moment. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to offer commentary on this application, unless you're all here to unmerge a lot? No one wants to say anything about this application. So you're all here about an unmerged lot.
I'm not.
You're not.
But I like tea.
You have nothing to say. Thank you. All right, seeing no one in the public wishing to speak about your tea room, I would take that as a good thing. You can come back to podium, please.
Thank you.
So I think we've heard testimony from you about the reasons why you're seeking to do this tea room here, why you think it's a benefit to the town. Describe how I think it's going to be a good place to attract people to this part of town, something unique in this area. The other tea room's defunct, isn't it? Yes. So you could have gotten a good deal on a defunct tea room around the corner.
Yeah.
What was that? The Friendly Snail or whatever it was?
That was like,
Well, it's still there.
that was like,
Oh, that one too, yeah.
yeah, there was one we did like a year ago. They never opened up.
Oh, yeah, they never did.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so there's no competition at the moment.
Yeah,
So it'll be a unique endeavor to bring to the town, something a little bit different. Obviously, you're opening a new business, that's certainly encouraged. It seems to be a well thought out enterprise and presented the information well. Do you have anything else you'd like to share with the board about your business or why you think we should approve your application?
anything in particular?
No, we're just excited for the opportunity to do something new that, hopefully our families can be involved in and, have our teenagers helping out maybe sometimes.
Definitely put them to work.
Well, that sounds like a very.
Yeah, no, I think it's gonna be a really great place for everyone to come and just spend some time together and and, just pop in and check it out and everything like that. And that part of Market is, as you know, just a little bit off Main past the bike path.
Mhm.
So it will, hopefully pull people down that way a little bit more toward the other businesses nearby.
Yeah. Very good. Unless there's any further comment or discussion, is someone prepared with a motion?
I'm ready to make a
And
motion.
Mr. Al, if you'd like to go ahead, please.
So I make a motion, we approve. I make a motion, we approve application number 24-26. Market and Turner LLC, owner, and Sarah Beth Warner and Fairy T LLC, applicant, 69 Market Street, plat 6, lot 43. Request for a special use permit to allow a tea room in a business district. Also with retail, I guess we gotta say that too.
We're gonna have incidental retail
Okay.
in the business.
And with the capacity to be determined by the fire marshal, hours of 8 to 7, Monday through Sunday.
I think it was 10 to 7.
10 to 7, Monday through Sunday. Sorry about that. That's a correction. Trash and delivery, we didn't put hours on because you're saying that there's not going to be any large trucks, and the trash you're going to be taking out every day by yourself. Signage would have to be specifically by the ordinance. So once you're thinking of putting your signing up, make sure you talk to the building official and make sure that that's complies with the signing. We find that granting this special use, it's compatible with the neighboring land. There's other coffee shops, restaurants, and there's looks like there's a lack of tea rooms, so that'll be great for the community. The special use does not create a hazard. You're not, like we said, you're not gonna have large amounts of trash. You're not gonna have any entertainment, so there's not gonna be any loud noises, and it seems like it's small enough that it's gonna fit within the parking realm of the area. And the special use permit with the compatible with the community comprehensive plan. We're adding in a nice tea shop that's going to be for the public and for the visiting people that come to come down on that street. So that's a good thing, and it meets the public welfare. Just filling that void. So I make a motion to approve.
Okay, I was just gonna add that we will give specific hours for the trash and deliveries that not before 8 AM in the morning would those activities occur, or not after 8 PM in the evenings, which it seems like that would fit.
Reasonably, thank you.
Are there any other specific conditions or amendments?
I'm good with it.
Mr. Rodriguez, and
Second
second.
motion.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So the motion is passed 4-0, so you can wrap up your permitting, meet with the fire department, and go through the steps that are necessary.
Thank you very
Thank you very
All right,
much.
so good
where-
luck to you.
Thank you. Where would we find the ordinance for that? Just so we could.
The
look that up.
sign,
Mhm.
it's in the Warren Town ordinance, it's online.
Really long. Okay, we'll look for it. All right, perfect.
You can just call my office, the building department, and we can help them out.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great,
Okay,
thank
thank you.
Have a lovely night.
Returning to item 3, 2427 Thomas R. Gordon, owner and applicant, 98 Twisset. Plat map 16, lot 316, request for a special use to unmerge the lot to create 2 lots of record in the R40 zoning district. Good evening. If you want to identify yourself,
Good evening.
please.
My name is Thomas Gordon. My address is 98 Twisted Road.
Okay, so Mr. Gordon, please explain why you're here for a special use permit regarding these lots.
I spoke with the building inspector about unmerging my lots that are on my deed. There is 2 lots currently on my deed. They're both Lot A, which would be the vacant lot, Lot C that the structure of my house is on. And looking at this, these lots were platted 1964. Both lots were purchased individually. The first house lot was purchased by the Manceys, who I bought my home from in 1964. They later on purchased the separate lot A in 1968. At some point, the town did merge these lots together. And I'm looking to unmerge them at this time,
How long have you owned these two lots?
approximately 4 years.
4 years. And you said you're residing in Lot C,
And Lot C, yes,
and Lot A is currently vacant.
correct,
And you want to return the lot line boundaries to how it was when it was originally platted.
correct.
Can you speak to the standards for the granting of a special use permit? And we can sort of, because he needs to satisfy this, correct? Yes. So, in your view, could you say, why you feel that unmerging these lots, would be compatible with the neighboring, land use patterns?
I find that unmerging these lots, falls in first to the specific plat plan that was put forward by, the Rose Estate, the Rose plat. If you look at the lots on either side of my Lot A, you also see Lot B, which would be my neighbor's residence at 100 Twisted Road. Their lot with both Lot B and the current lot that their house is on, the equivalent is 24,000 square feet. If you look at house lot 106 on Twisted Road, that lot is a 21,000 square foot lot. My lot that my vacant lot looking to unmerge is a total of 27,290 square feet. It's larger than both of these lots that stand on either side of my vacant lot. And then that would put my lot that I currently have my dwelling on in line with all prospective lots down Twisted Road and onto Maple Road that have acre lots.
So, you understand that by unmerging Lot A, it's returning to its original size of 27,000, which is less than the 40,000 required in this zone, but it's your testimony that you feel that there are other lots similar or smaller in size to Lot A that exist in this vicinity?
Yes, in this direct vicinity on either side of my vacant lot, Lot A, there are lots that are actually undersized compared to the Lot A at 27,000 square feet.
And that would be along Twisted Road.
Correct. It does
And
have
then
frontage on Twisted Road.
Your testimony is that the lots going down Maple Road, your existing Lot C would still be compatible with
Correct.
those size lots.
There is a full acre that my dwelling has on currently.
Do you see any reason why the unmerging of this lot would create any kind of nuisance or hazard in this neighborhood?
I can't see any kind of nuisance or hazard in the neighborhood. They're all single family dwellings within the neighborhood. I don't see any.
So you're not
Hazard.
aware of any conditions that would be detrimental if this lot was to be unmerged?
No, I do not.
Okay. Do you feel that separating this into two separate lots is compatible with the town's intended comprehensive plan goals for this area?
I have not looked at the town's comprehensive plan goals for this area. But I would say that if you do look further down Maple Road, I believe it's the last name of the owner is Kirkman. They currently developed a lot almost to the exact dimensions of this lot here, and they built a single family dwelling on it. Also, that lot does contain wetlands. This lot does not contain any wetlands.
All right.
What lot was that again?
I don't know the exact house number at this
332.
point.
332?
Yes.
That you're saying is similar to this lot?
The dimensions are almost exact, and this lot is slightly larger. But
what benefit do you think the public would receive if these lots were to be unmerged?
the benefits to the public, I would say benefits to my family would be, a possibility to build, a dwelling there, or the possibility to use it for any other uses there are, for the neighbors, it would be, more neighborhood neighbors and
All right, so you understand what we're considering here is simply to unmerge these lots. Nothing we're discussing here is giving explicit permission to
Correct.
build or not build or develop or not develop anything on this lot. That would be a
Correct.
separate process, should
Correct.
you choose to do so.
correct.
Do we have any specific questions about the proposed unmerger of the lots? Okay, if you want to have a seat for a moment. Is there anyone in the public who'd like to come forward regarding this application? Yes, sir. You can come up and please state your name and address.
Hi, I'm Chris Gathers, 110 Twislet.
All right, you're at 110 Twislet.
Right.
Is that the lot that's referred to as Lot B that's on the corner? Or are you further up Twislet?
I'm further up.
You're further up Twislet. All right, so you're not directly abutting
Right,
the property, but you're in the neighborhood.
right.
All right. What are your concerns?
Years ago, they were allowing people to build small, to have small lots
Mhm,
back in the 60s,
mhm,
and they've changed that since.
Yeah,
And I don't think it'd be beneficial to put a undersized lot, a house on an undersized lot between two already undersized lots in that area.
okay, so you have a concern that unmerging these lots, you're concerned about it being an undersized lot once it's unmerged. And you don't think that's a good idea because there's also other existing lots that are undersized nearby.
Right, right. But those are grandfathered in because it was done in the 60s.
Mhm.
And the towns changed their, the plan since. So if we're making rules, I think we should stick to them.
All right. Anything else?
That's all I got.
Okay. Is there anyone else in the public? Yes, madam, if you'd like to come up and sir, identify yourselves, please.
Hi there, my name is Brittany Rodriguez.
David Rodriguez.
Okay, and so are you directly adjacent to the property?
We're the neighboring property,
You are the neighboring property.
What's the address then?
106 Twisted Road. We
Okay.
purchased the property last November and we were told that lot next to us was not buildable, which was one of the reasons we bought the property. They are undersized lots, and it would be far too close to put properties on.
So are you to the north of this lot? The one that's labeled here, Clinton B and Anna M. Manchester? Is that? Are you up here? This is the lot that's being unmerged. You're here. That's the lot the applicant lives on.
For the record, Chair, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
it's the north, the property right to the direct north of
To
this.
the north, you're up here.
And that was 20,
So if you're if you're
Yeah.
looking at my house,
Mm-hmm.
their lot is to the right of me.
Okay.
so your lot is
My house
21,
facing street, they're to the left of me.
your lot is 21,000 square
Yep,
feet?
I believe so.
Was built in the 60s. And he's
Yep.
already been, cutting down trees, which, has taken away from,
One of the reasons we purchased the house, and it does take away from the neighborhood. I mean, the houses are spaced, similarly apart. And to put either one or two properties there would be far too congested.
So with regard to what, when you were buying the house, what a realtor may or may not have said about the property is really inadmissible.
we understand that.
And whether someone chooses to cut down trees on their property or
Sure.
not, it's
Sure.
entirely at their own discretion unless it's causing damage or falling on your land or something of that nature. So really, the concern you have is that you feel by unmerging these lots, you think it would be too congested in the area to have an undersized lot adjacent to other lots that are already undersized
Right.
from the 1960s.
Right.
And our neighbors directly behind us, their property also runs along the same property line. So they have a similar
Well, if
point of view than we do.
we can We can hear from them if they're here.
They are here.
Okay, we'll look forward to that. Was there any other specific concern?
It-
And it's right on a curve, which could be dangerous for any families living there to get out of their driveway. I mean, I live a house, a lot up, and coming out of my driveway sometimes can be a little hairy.
Do you think there's a potential traffic concern?
Yes,
All right,
and that's it.
is that all?
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, I can swear them out.
Yes, next. Both,
Nathan Gregory,
sorry, and you live at,
108 Twisted.
okay, and so is that further to the north then?
We're right behind them.
You're right behind them,
Yeah, abutting.
okay,
So our lot is 2.6 acres.
yeah,
Their lot is 1.6. My mother-in-law, who has a letter as well, her lot is 1 point something.
your mother-in-law lives in the area too?
Same address as us.
Oh, same address as you.
Same address as us. And then we have those two undersized lots from the 60s.
Mhm.
It's a dangerous, very dangerous corner right there. The fire station's right there. My children actually cut through their yard, thank you guys, because it's such a dangerous corner to get to the bus stop. They're not even allowed to walk on the road over there. It's definitely kind of dangerous. I'm not opposed to, them building a garage but to have another family there on an undersized lot. We all have huge lots. We pay great taxes to have those lots. So does it make sense to have another house on a 27,000 square foot lot when we all have these big lots? It doesn't make any sense.
All right, so again, your concern is about the crowding and congestion. of
Crowding,
lot
congestion,
sizes, And dangerous traffic.
That dangerous corner right there.
All
So
right,
they can't even walk the street over there to get to the bus
Our
stop.
kids.
Our children, yeah.
and so again, we'll say, nothing in this application is granting the approval to build a house.
Hmm.
The purpose of the
Right.
application is to simply.
But why don't you
separate-
separate the lot?
Well, anyone could separate a lot for any reason they want.
Oh, okay, so you could guarantee me they're not gonna build a house and it's not.
We
gonna be a
can't
separate lot?
guarantee that they're going to.
Because the
build a
Mancy's who are our friends, sold that lot, sold it knowing that they couldn't separate the lots. 4 years ago, they just sold it that way. So they could have sold it, they could have separated it and sold it for more money.
What they did in the past or didn't do is not necessarily relevant. It's that the request here is to return the lots to their original 1960s configuration.
So what's the
Whether that-
purpose of it? What's the purpose?
It's not pertinent to our ordinance, what they choose to do with the land once it's separated. They're simply asking for a separation of the land. We can't hold them to say, if you separate it, you can't build anything there, you must do this, you must do that.
So if somebody were to buy the land, they would have to get another zoning permit?
It depends on what the person would want to do with that land.
So if they sold the land, somebody buys the land and they want to build a house,
It
what's
de-
the process?
It depends on what kind of house, what size, if it meets the setbacks. I mean, there's innumerable different
So-
considerations.
So we do have, it is all acre lots in Twisted in our area, right?
Well,
I mean,
as we've
that-
seen from the plans, that going down.
In our
Maple
area, it's
Road-
all acre lots.
Well, there's 3 lots right here at this particular corner that are not an acre, right? There's 106 just to the north of the lot in question. That's only 21,000.
From the 60s.
What's the zoning there?
From the
It's
60s.
our.
This is all acre lots.
So it's
Okay.
40, legally you need 40,000 square feet.
Exactly. That's the problem. That's the issue we have.
If it was a new lot. What's being asked here is an existing platted lot.
And it is wet. All my whole property drains right into that lot, actually.
Yeah, and that could certainly be a concern depending on what people may or may not want to do with it. But again, to summarize, your concerns are the small size of the lot, it feels too
Absolutely.
congested, and there's a dangerous corner
Yes.
here for traffic.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Is there any? Yep, you can come back again. Just state your name again.
Again,
Just please state your name again.
Brittany Rodriguez. So say they were granted and able to unmerge the lots,
Mhm.
what would then be my process to stop somebody building on it? What
That's,
would I have to
that's
do?
outside the
Whatever you,
parameters of this board.
There's no direction you could give me right now.
There's no direction. Again, this was said over and over again. They only have a certain purview with certain authority tonight to respond to this application strictly to unmerge, hold on one second, unmerge two lots. If somebody's going to develop that, there's certainly regulations, there's zoning, there's subdivision regulations in place in the town of Warren. They gotta conform to those regulations. If they don't, then they certainly have to go get additional relief. And that's when possibly it would come back before this board or another board or the building official. But there's certainly in the current code in Warren, regulations that they would have to meet in order to build something there. And if they couldn't, then they would have to come back before a board such as this and say, hey, this biggest we can build is this big and this is no good. We needed this big. Then they would have to come before this board again and explain why they need that. And you would also be noticed to come back and also express concerns.
Okay, so you need
Okay.
40,000 square feet to build?
No.
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 The regulations are in the code. So you would have to go back to the code to see exactly what he has there. It's a substandard lot, see what regulations pertain to that. And then he has certain regulations that he's got to meet in terms of setbacks, et cetera. That's something he was gonna have to figure out if it's even what he can build there, if it's even buildable in terms of what's allowed right now. If it is, and he can do it by right, then he has the right to build it without any additional approval from any board. However, if there's other restrictions in place, right, he would have to go get relief if it's not allowed in the current code.
Okay,
Because what's been submitted, these are not plans to build a house. There's nothing on paper here to say what's gonna be done with the land. The request is simply to separate. these. We
understood,
have-
but you're separating in order to
Well,
potentially build on
You could
it.
potentially do, again, we have no, documentary evidence
Right.
here to say what is going to happen to this piece of land.
Right,
We can only go by what is actual evidence before us, and no plan has been submitted for a house. It's simply a request to return the lot line boundaries to the conditions they were in the 1960s.
okay.
And I'll give you a quick example, as somebody stated, it's wetlands. If that's a fact, then he's got to address wetlands according to the current code.
Right,
If it's a fact, I don't know that, but that's the type of stuff that's inside the code that he would have to meet in order to build something there.
and certainly where we live, drainage is already a problem. We had to take up our whole front yard and put in French drains, and it was an absolute mess because our basement keeps flooding as well as our neighbors. So that would just, perpetuate the problem even worse for us.
Yeah,
And we just spent all that money,
So
so,
there'd have to be, whatever's done with the lot, they have to take into considerations whatever restrictions or parameters would influence that lot, depending on whatever they choose to use it for.
okay, understood. Thank you.
Was there anyone else in the public who wanted to address this application? Okay, we can close the public portion. I want to ask the solicitor, what is, in terms of legal precedent for requesting to return a set of lots to its previous boundary lines? Like what powers does the board have with regard to that?
Well, just to give you some background on this, basically that at some point the legislators believe that if you have two lots, one that meets the criteria and a substandard, and if it fits certain criteria such as the same property owner of both lots, automatically by zoning, they would be merged. However, with 2024 and effective January 1st, 2024, the legislature did change the 45-24-38 now indicating by right, under certain circumstances, people can do it automatically by right. However, that's not the case here. The case here basically says if an individual in this town wants to come and unmerge, they have to apply for a special use permit. And that special use permit is exactly the same standards that we use when addressing a special use permit application.
It has to meet all the same four standards of the application with regard to simply unmerging the lots, not with regard to any speculative development.
Correct.
But do we Is there anything that governs us for creating a substandard lot?
You're not creating it. It's
Yeah.
basically, it would go back to the original condition. Basically zoning merged it automatically, right? He didn't take any action to merge that. And now what he's saying is that also the zoning says now you can go before the zoning board and unmerge it, and those two lots become their original makeup. In other words, I'm guessing there's one that is like a regular standard lot that is buildable in a substandard lot. That just reverts back to the original condition.
Do we know when it was merged?
I don't know.
Was it merged
It was-
30 years ago, or was it merged a year ago?
Probably administratively, quite some time ago. It's
Correct.
probably merged on the tax rolls and. you know,
Most
we
of the
don't-
mergers in Rhode Island happened in like the eighties.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have any evidence of
No.
knowing when this was merged, but it appears that it's some number of years back in the past here. So the question before us would be whether or not unmerging these would meet the 4 standards. Would also ask that, so if we return these to the original 1960s condition, we'd have one lot that is 43,299 square feet, another that's 27,290. Could we require as a condition that the larger lot give some of its property to the smaller lot, so the larger lot stays at 40,000, but the smaller lot gains a little bit more? No.
Negative.
We cannot change that because
The law basically says it's just unmerge it, bring and send it back to the original form.
we can't change the.
You cannot
lines.
change it.
All right, so even though the lot C would be bigger than what's allowed or what's required at 43,000, we can't add anything back to lot A.
Correct.
So either we're unmerging it as it is back to the 1960s, or we're leaving it as it currently exists if we feel standards cannot be met or haven't been demonstrated. But we need to have the applicant come back and we can ask him the questions to address the concerns that have been raised. If you want to come back. So we're going to ask you about the standards again. We've heard comments from the public that the unmerger of these 2 lots would create a condition where there are a number of small lots, undersized lots, all grouped together around this corner. We've heard it stated that there's a feeling of having small, undersized lots gives a feeling of overcrowding or congestion in the area. And there was also a concern about having undersized lots with regard to the traffic flow at this corner. So can you speak to anything about the unmerger of these lots that relates to mitigating those concerns?
No, I think at this point, the unmerging of the lot is strictly going to leave the lot the way it is. The congestion isn't going to be there because currently it's just a lot. It's not built on, nothing's happened. This is, strictly for our exploration to see what is the possibilities with that lot. As far as the corner, everybody uses that road, the Autobahn's there. It's, there's already current driveways on that corner. I come in, I already have an access way. I pull my own truck in and out of that lot to move my firewood around and such.
Is there an existing driveway on lot?
It's not a driveway on that lot. There is a break in the stone wall that I use to pull my own pickup truck in.
There's an opening in the wall
Yeah.
currently connecting lot A to Twisted Road.
Yes, there is an opening in that wall and I use it to move wood around from that lot to my other lot and such. So it's already in use. There is a driveway there. I'm just, like I said, it's not, looking for any animosity or anything, just looking, to explore the possibilities that, could go forward with this and unmerging it you know, we could look into those possibilities, whatever they be. As far as it being wet, there's no wetlands currently on there, whether their lots draining to my lot is a different issue. But it's not wet. I'm in there pretty regularly.
Do you think, based on the comments that have been received, that the unmerging of these lots would still be compatible with the town's intended use of this area and zoning of this area?
I believe so, because first the lots were, you know, put in this fashion and accepted by the planning board in 1964. But as we see, you know, further down Maple Road, they have, you know, that lot on Maple Road was also, you know, it was administratively subdivided to be able to, you know, put a house on that lot there. And for just the sale of that lot there, it was just administratively subdivided. I thought that was something that we could do here, but I'm in front of the board now. I'd also, you know, draw attention to, it would be Blackthorn Lane. There was a recent house about 10 years ago that was put on a lot that was 30,000 square feet, and that was only 10 years ago that a house was put on a lot of that size. So I think it's in yeah, Blackthorn. It's number 327 on the plat map. The lot was only 30,000 square feet, and it was able to be sold, and you know, someone ended up putting a single family dwelling on it. So, but like I said, this is.
Do you see that the unmerger of these lots would provide a benefit to serve the public convenience and welfare?
The public convenience and welfare. It's just an empty lot at this point. Like I said, it could be unmerged and kept as an empty lot. So I don't see any difference in, you know, unmerging the lot where it would cause any, you know, unwelfare of the public.
Right. Do we have any questions on his responses to the conditions that were raised by the public comment? No. So I would say that the proposed unmerger has to meet all four of the criteria. If there's one of the criteria that we do not believe evidence has been provided to support that, then it cannot be unmerged. So it has to satisfy each of the criteria in order to allow the unmerger to go forward. If we don't believe it satisfies one or more of the criteria, we need to make findings of fact as to specifically why the unmerger does not satisfy that criteria. Does anyone have any thoughts on how this proposed unmerger may or may not relate to the criteria that are required?
Struggling with this one. It would be a lot easier if the applicant owned the property when it was merged for me to do this. I'm just struggling with it, because we're putting a lot line in, but I mean, when was it merged? Was it merged 40 years ago? Or was it merged 2 years ago?
So potentially there is outstanding information that you would like.
It's not comfortable at all.
That you might need, that perhaps, are you saying you don't have, there aren't enough facts and evidence to support a decision at this point? Or you'd like
In
to
my
see more?
opinion, yes.
Yeah, so,
Maybe not the rest of the board, but in my opinion.
so your opinion is there needed additional facts? Okay,
Mr. Chair, I just remind the
Yes.
board that the only standards that the board needs to relate to is the 4 standards in the ordinance in terms of when making a judgment call on this application.
but it could be that if you haven't heard sufficient facts to meet each of the criteria, you could state that you find there are insufficient facts on one or more of the criteria, but you have to be specific on which criteria you think there are insufficient facts on.
Council, so you're saying that when the lots were not merged, what year it was, had no relevance to this?
What I'm saying is you just have to follow the 4 standards and whether or not the evidence testimony presented to the board fits within that the 4 standards there. And like as the chair said, each one you have to make a positive finding. If you
And
can't
there's
make a
definitely no record of when this was merged. And there should be
I
some kind of.
don't
record.
have that information.
Could I speak to one of the standards you're saying, the public? I know and I can't say this is going towards housing. I don't know where this is going. This is strictly exploratory at this point. But if it was to go towards any kind of housing later on, there is a housing shortage. So I'm just, it's something the public is, looking for, but I can't say that's even going that way. Like I said, we have a set thing where if we unmerge this, then we able to look deeper into it to see, where we go with it. But this is just.
Yeah, I think it would only be speculation as to what may or may not happen, because we're simply looking at whether the act of unmerging these satisfies the conditions. So does anyone else have any thoughts on specific facts that either support or refute any of the 4 conditions here? I'll say that on number 4, the public convenience and welfare will be served. I haven't heard any specific facts on how the unmerger of the lots would provide a particular benefit to the convenience and welfare of the public. It seems at best from the information received, it would sort of be neutral in that respect to have the lot lines returned back. I'm not necessarily seeing a specific detriment to the convenience and welfare of the public, but I'm not seeing any kind of advantage that would better serve the convenience and welfare. Now we've closed the public portion. Does anyone have any thoughts on the other 3 standards? So how about the comprehensive community plan?
I mean, on the comprehensive community plan, again, it's kind of a 50-50 thing. I mean, it was merged. It wasn't done during his time. It was done prior to him. He purchased a lot 4 years ago. So now you can say that when they purchased it, they knew that it was a merged lot. But then there was also, when they purchased it, they also knew that it was not merged back in the 60s. So again, you gotta weigh the odds of both. I mean, it's kind of right down the middle right now. You just gotta, we've had these before, right? Where they go right down the middle and then you gotta make a decision on where that 51% is gonna go.
We could say, if the comprehensive community plan, if it identifies this area of town as an area where the lot sizes are intended to be an acre plus, that's specifically identified in the community plan, we could make findings.
Well, it's
with-
40 plus, not an acre plus.
No, sorry,
'Cause an
40
acre is
plus.
42 change.
If it's 40 plus for each lot, if that is an intended goal of the comprehensive plan, there could be findings relating to whether or not this satisfies that goal of the comprehensive plan. Generally, the comprehensive plan talks about land use, but we're not giving a specific use for this lot. It is in a residential zone, so any proposed use for it would need to comply with what is and is not allowed by the use tables for that zone.
Yeah, I mean, if he was planning on building on it and he came up in front of us and said he was building on it, it was gonna meet all the standards, and he did it all in one. Unmerged and built, we've had that come before us before. But. And that would meet the comprehensive plan because we are looking for housing, but wait, just to merge it for the sake of merging it. I mean, it kind
And then
of,
you find out it's unbuildable.
right,
Yeah, so it doesn't necessarily, there's, what we have on paper here doesn't necessarily speak, if the comprehensive plan talks about increasing housing stock,
yeah,
the act of unmerging this doesn't necessarily mean it's going to fulfill that requirement of the comprehensive
Right.
plan. It doesn't mean that it won't, but it also doesn't mean that it does.
so I'm saying, I'm just saying that. I'm just making a suggestion that it might have been better if it was the other way around, so.
What do we think about number two? That it's not going to create a nuisance or a hazard, to simply put the line back on paper to delineate these two lots. Do we see any apparent nuisance or hazard that would be created by doing so?
I mean, we have testimony about that corner, traffic. So,
But you know, what about simply putting this line back on the paper is going to impact the traffic
that's true.
on this corner?
It's not, because it's gonna still be for his use, because it's gonna be the same owner. Or for their use.
Right, again, there's nothing saying that anything that will happen to this lot, if it was unmerged, would necessarily create a nuisance or hazard. Simply by unmerging it, I don't know that I've heard any testimony that that act in and of itself would create a nuisance or hazard.
I haven't even.
If both lots were, say we had 80-something thousand square feet,
Of course.
would have been merged in the first place if you had two 40,000 square foot lots?
No. No,
So it got merged because one was substandard.
Correct.
And the practice is whenever you have a substandard lot or lots in common ownership, they're merged together administratively by the town. All right, well, so number one, the special use will be compatible with the neighboring land uses. The neighboring land use is residential. This lot is zoned as residential. Nothing about unmerging this lot is going to change the use of the land from residential, in my opinion.
yeah,
So I mean, I feel like number one and number two, I could see those two being satisfied. Number three is a bit iffy. Number four, I don't know that there's any direct evidence to support that it would serve the public in any
You
way.
can't even say it's because it's gonna increase housing stuff.
No, because there's no there's nothing we can point to
That
say
makes
that
sense.
I've heard that it's going to serve the public convenience and welfare in any way. It's basically, in my mind, if we unmerge these, it's sort of innocuous. It's going to stay there's gonna be no immediate effect on a benefit or detriment. So again, number 4 is that the public convenience and welfare will be served. So we have to determine, is that going to serve it, or is it going to sort of be moot on the point and really do nothing? Because I think, and maybe the solicitor can advise the way the wording of this is, it sounds like it's something in the affirmative that this action will serve the public convenience and welfare rather than not alter the current condition of the public convenience and welfare.
I read it the same way you do, Mr. Chair, in terms of the affirmative. However, one thing it's not specific is the public convenience and welfare will be served immediately or in the future. That's not there.
Mhm.
So you can interpret that as you please.
I don't know if an argument can be made either way.
Again, I don't know that I've heard any factual evidence
Either way.
one way or the other.
What does that mean? What does that do?
So, Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
considering that the board, it looks like they don't have possibly enough information, that's the kind of what I'm hearing here. I'm not sure if the applicant wants to consider what the board is discussing, whether you heard here tonight, and may want a continuance and bring back some more information in regards to his application. It may be helpful, may not be helpful, or he may just want a decision here tonight. I'm not sure.
So I would say possible further information is some of these points we're saying we're not sure on. How could this lot be proposed to do these things? Are there some plans you could put before us that would demonstrate that this lot could have the impacts that the standards are looking for? Because right now it's kind of a blank canvas here. You know, we put this one line back on the map. Okay, that action, it's not really tilting the scale one way or the other to satisfy at least 2 of these conditions. Do you think there's more information you could bring to this if you had?
I'm
additional
not
information?
sure exactly what information you're looking for because.
Well, I think we're not exactly sure either. but
Exactly,
it's-
because you're saying plans,
It's,
different ways, and if,
For example, I think it'd be helpful if the board had what you could put there by right. I think they had it before them, that would be helpful in saying, if this is developed according to what is allowed there, and by right, considering that's a smaller lot, what does that look like?
Okay.
They want answers to whether or not that's something that they're gonna see, in the neighborhood, is it can create a hazard or et cetera. Again, they can't restrict you and make you do that, but at least they can make a better judgment that in terms of that information, considering it's a residential use, and by right, what are you technically entitled to? I think that may be helpful. That's just my.
because again, as I said,
I would agree
we
with that.
can't hold you to anything, but you could show us, it's zoned residential. You can't put drive-in movie theaters. There's only certain things that this lot could ever be used for. So you'd have to look at, okay, what are the possible allowable uses by the use tables? And okay, we've identified that. Is it X type of housing? Is it an apartment? Is it this? Is it that? Look at the tables and say, okay, we can do this legally. Then you have to look at, based on the size of this lot, what would the required setbacks be for any development on this lot? What would the required lot coverage be on this size of a lot? What would the required parking be for the allowable uses? If there are wetlands, what would that do to either limit or open up opportunities on this land? Because again, I think we've heard is it's very ambiguous. There's no real concrete evidence to say what might be able to happen on this property if it was unmerged that could satisfy the conditions. It's just kind of, out in outer space here, a theoretical concept, but we don't have any real evidence to base a decision on at this point.
Okay, I can come back with further information if that's what
So,
I'm looking for.
are you requesting that the board then continue this matter to the next board meeting so you have time to submit additional evidence to demonstrate how you feel factually it can comply with the 4 standards.
Yes.
That's the request. Is there a motion to that effect?
Make a motion.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, so all in favor of continuing this application so more factual information can be provided?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, so it passes 4-0. It will be continued, and as we said in the prior application, it has to be the same 4 people available. Right now, we know of no reason why we cannot be available at the next meeting. So I would suggest you thoroughly read and understand the 4 standards, the comprehensive plan, and you need to submit some kind of evidence that you feel we could base a finding of fact upon, not just your opinion of what might happen.
Okay.
All right,
Okay. Thank you.
thank you. Are there any administrative notes, upcoming absences, anything requiring our attention? No. Then is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
So we are now adjourned.